Today we're driving a 2010 BMW 335 X-Drive. But before we do, let's go ahead and take a look inside at the interior. Now right away, I'm taken aback a little bit by this red interior. I really like this. It's a little different. It has wood grain trim in here. Not what I would have personally chosen, but not bad either. I would have probably gone with a aluminum trim. It's pretty basic BMW in here. You know, this doesn't have the navigation system, so there's no second hump here on the dash. Very familiar steering wheel. 6-speed, which, unless you're getting something new with the dual clutch gearbox, is definitely what you want in a BMW. This has the BMW Professional CD stereo in it. You don't get a whole lot of functionality with that. Let's go ahead and check that out. Typical BMW key right here. This does not have comfort access, which comfort access is where you walk up to the door handle, grab it, it unlocks. This one still acts like a key. Does have a backup key in here as well. Just push a little button and the little key comes out for your valet. Right there, that little guy. Take this, stick it in right there, and you automatically hear that bing, bing. Now there is literally a guy in Germany at BMW that spends hours upon hours at a MIDI keyboard perfecting all the little beeps and dings and everything that you hear in a BMW. Everything. Well, let's go ahead and start her up here. Now, one thing before we go, you'll notice the seat belt is back here. So, I mean, I gotta push my arm back to get to it. BMW's thought of that. When you close the door, wait just a sec, it hands it to you. Push button start, very nice. All the instrumentation is amber in typical BMW fashion. Unless you get one of the M cars, it's about the only time. You're not going to get an amber gauge. Those have, instead of white needles on amber gauges, they're going to have kind of a reddish, clear needle with white gauges. Everything else is pretty normal here on the steering wheel. We've got our controls for the stereo, volume up and down, another up and down. Don't be confused. One's a plus and minus. The other one is an up and down arrow. The up and down arrow is going to go through your presets, through your track, on CD, or if you have MP3 control, that'll go to the next track on your iPhone, Android, anything like that. The plus minus is your volume button. One thing that BMW is notorious for is, as you'll notice, there are not very many words on anything. For example, on the stereo you'll see here, this has just dashes, and then the screen in front of it actually correlates to whatever is above that, so that's constantly changing. You have audio, menu, auto, max, and all. Everything else on this car is a symbol or an abbreviation for something. You have up here your DTC, which is your dynamic traction control. Right next to that is a a door with a key on it. What do you think that means? Door lock. Push this button, all the doors unlock. Interesting place for that. Now, one thing I'm noticing in this car are no cup holders. This is not in the shape of a cup. This is not in the shape of a cup. But those Germans, they're sneaky. They think of everything. The one pops out here. One pops out next to the passenger side door. There are conventional ones in the back seat, if you want to call it a back seat. Granted, this is the coupe, So, all right, enough about the interior. We'll talk more in a little bit. Let's take this sucker for a drive. All right, well, here we are in our 2010 BMW E92 335i X-Drive. That's a lot to describe one car. Let me break that down. Obviously, 2010 BMW, that's easy, right? E92, well, that's the factory designation from BMW. The E90 series. The E90 is the sedan, the E92 is the coupe, and the E93 is the convertible. They did have an E91 wagon, hideous car, ugly, just totally ruined the lines of this car. But that's how BMW does things. Previous 3 series were the E30, the E36, the E46, and now the E90 series. They've broken it up. And the new one is the F30, I believe, the 2014. So, but here we are in ours, our 335, 3 series. The 35 is the engine designation, and this particular one is a inline 6 twin turbocharged model. This is the N54 model of engine. What does that mean? Again, it's a BMW thing. N54 is the engine code. From 2007 to 2010, BMW had the N54. Now the N54 is the 3-liter, 6-cylinder, twin turbocharged car. In 2011, due to some reliability issues, they went to the N55, a slightly revised version. Same block, basically the entirely the same engine, but the difference is they went to a single twin scroll turbo. If you don't know what that is, look it up. But basically, in this car, there's 2 turbos about the size of my fist that spool up on 3 independent cylinders. 300 horsepower, 300 pound-feet of torque. Now, that may not seem like a lot when a lot of these newer cars coming out, like your Porsche 918s and your LaFerraris and your McLaren P1s, are in the 900 horsepower area, you know, give or take 50. But 300 horsepower, the body style M3 before this only had 333 horsepower. And it had less than 300 foot-pounds of torque. This engine makes more torque than the previous model M3. 0 to 60 time for this coupe is about 4.6 seconds. That's the same 0 to 60 time as the E93, excuse me, not E92, the E93 M3. That's the convertible. Yes, it's heavier, but that's got a 420 horsepower V8. This is a 300 horsepower inline 6, granted with a couple of turbos. Bang for your buck, this is hands down one of the best cars that you can buy. Now the great thing about this car is you don't really hear the turbos. You hear engine. I hope you can hear that, because it's a great sound. That's all engine. There are no psh from a turbo or anything like that, like you get on some of these other turbocharged cars, like your WRXs and your Lancer Evos and things like that. You don't get it. That's not what BMW wants. They want that engine sound, and they did it. They did a fantastic job with this car. And can't I say, it's got some great lines. It's a beautiful car. The interior is nice. This particular one doesn't have the upgraded Harman Kardon system in it, but you really don't need it. It sounds good. You know, the only way to really tell is you've got your speakers down here. There'd be a little tweeter up here in this area, up here on the A-pillar. But well, guys, that's it from me today. I'll put some links down in the description on some of the specifics about this car. And if you have the means, I highly recommend getting one. You can get another 100 horsepower out of this motor for about 600 bucks. I'll put those links down below as well. But please go ahead and hit that like button, Help us grow this channel. We'll get some real nice car reviews out for you. And don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.